a blur. I think it's because I'm moving through it kind of fast, and it's different emotionally the second time. I kind of just have to jog my memory by like watching my own videos or stuff like that to remember or go back and look at the pictures. But it really all kind of just blends together because I'm doing like 3 hikes a week. And I guess that kind of can lead into your second question about like maybe if people are, doing the single season winter 46 or something of that nature, how can they go really about doing it? And for me, because I only work like 2 or 3 days a week, and I only need to because of my second business is my photography, which I can do online and through the gallery, which I'm really grateful then that it allows me to have a lot of freedom to spend and choose and pick my days. Mm-hmm. And the 46 can be done in 18, 19, or 20 hikes. It depends on how you might can join certain mountains.
In the winter, you're saying?
No, both summer and the winter.
Okay.
It's the same style, same hikes. Than it is in the summer as it is in the winter. You're not going to group them up differently.
I grouped them as 17.
You might have done like
that.
I
guess it's kind of similar in that regard. Though I guess if you break up Dial, Nipple Top, Blake, and Colvin to 2,
sure,
that's
something 18, that I'm doing
which
this
you've
winter.
Done,
right?
So that would explain that one hike.
And then I did like Redfield, Cliff, and Marshall in a day, and a lot of people would just do Redfield and Cliff,
sure.
and then or Marshall just in a separate day. And sometimes the Seward Range, they'll separate that,
of course.
Seymour and whatever. But to me, I'm just like, you know what? If I'm out there, I'm just gonna go get them.
Yeah, and I mean, not just you're gonna go get them. You have a goal. You have a goal you're working towards. So sometimes you got to push a little harder.
I don't want to go back up to Upper Woods again. Just
nobody
to get
wants
Marshall.
That.
It's right there. I'll suffer through the 3 miles round trip if I need to, instead of going back later and doing 17 miles to get that mountain.
Absolutely, and a lot of people, they might raise their nose and think that's so lame, blah, 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 blah. It's about the mountains, dude. Come on, man. But at the same time, yes, the mountains are awesome, and they're still enjoyable. Like, yeah, I hate Cliff. I want to punch Cliff. It sucked so bad. But I still loved being up there that day when I was dying and I was dead. But, like, you have a goal, so you're trying to accomplish the goal, and that's great. And sometimes you got to push yourself a little harder. And at the end of the day, despite feeling terrible and like hating the hike during that day, you feel so good, so accomplished that you were able to push yourself a little further, get uncomfortable. And you can't say that that's not a huge element of hiking, because look at what you're doing. You're walking up mountains, and right now in the winter, literally risking life and death because it can go poorly very quickly.
Sure.
So it's a phenomenal feeling when you kind of push that extra mile mentally and literally physically to grab another peak. And for you need those photos, and I need to see those photos.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
And I need to get the photos because I'm going to be in a problem if people get to the show and they're like, "There's only 45 pictures here. What happened?" Well,
you're like, no, there's only 45 high peaks. Actually, they changed it. It's not 46
we don't
anymore.
want to talk about orphaning Iroquois, which I didn't do, but a lot of people do. And also one more thing is like, the thing is like, I have a lot of time to be able to go and do this. And since that's what I've dedicated my extra time to, that's why it's really easy for me to go out and do the single season winter 46 in terms of time. I got 3 months, 18 hikes. We're talking like 90 days, give or take. And I'm like, okay, well that means that's an average of 1 hike every 5 to 6 days. Mm-hmm. And that's not crazy at all. It's like, and now there was a couple weeks where I did like 4, like in a week. I think it was like a 50 or 60 mile week. I did like 2 of those. And now I'm at like, okay, well, I have 3 weeks left until the winter ends, and I only have 3 hikes left. So if you pace yourself just right, it's a very, very tangible thing. You just have to
commit to doing it. Absolutely.
It's a chore. If there's no like, I think in anything here in the high peaks, if it was ever really a chore at the end of the day, no one would be doing it. It's only a chore. The only chore parts are either the wake up or the hike out.
Yeah, dude,
everything
nailed
else.
It.
Everything else is like, I love this.
The chore is the decision to go after the goal that you have. The actual, like, being in the woods is awesome. I mean, it's great, but yeah, the hike out is always the worst. So I think you nailed that. So what hikes do you have left? You have 3 hikes left, 3 weeks left.
3 weeks left, 3 hikes.
We have the Dix Range.
And I think at this point I've gone kind of different places in my mind of like how I want to attack it. And based off of like weather and just other things, and I really like skiing now. I think I'm going to ski in from the Clear Pond Gate all the way to the base of the lean-tos at like Macomb Slide, and stash the skis or bring them with me and go up Macomb Slide and out and back everything, and then down to Beckhorn and then ski out. And then I have Haystack Basin and Saddleback, and I have saved that one kind of towards the end of it because there was one idea in my mind months before I started this, what I wanted to do with those. It's the only one that I thought about methodically months beforehand because to me, Haystack and Basin, I think they are, for me, they are the two best peaks in the park because not only are they're some of the hardest to get to, but with that, as well as with the beauty of the summits and the views that they offer, I think Basin has the best sunset in the park, and I think Haystack has the best sunrise. And that's really kind of because of like the mountains and the view you specifically get, and mixed with how remote it is. It's a very unique peak to be on at those times because it's hard to get to. Yeah, I mean, it's like, Algonquin. Like, honestly, when you're just kind of like looking at everything else, Algonquin, super easy to get to. 2-3 hours, one way, just get to the summit. Boom, there you are. Watch the sunrise. Incredible. And you get to come back down. But the thing is, if you have the ability and you're able to get out all the way the 9.5 miles to Haystack for the sunrise, like, it's such an incredible experience. And, I haven't experienced it yet. And I was like, I want to watch the sunset from Basin and I want to watch the sunrise from Haystack. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hike in. I have to wait for the perfect back-to-back day. It just needs to work out. And that's why I've kind of just waited until I would have that perfect window. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in through JBL and then go up the Orbed Brook up to the Saddleback and Gothic Gables, Cole, and then go up Saddleback, go down the cliffs, which, by the way, out of every single section of trail I've ever been on in the High Peaks, which I've been on 95% of every single trail in High Peaks Wilderness, the half-mile section between Saddleback and Basin, I have never, ever stepped foot on. And it just worked out that way. I don't know why. It's just what happened. And so my first experience of the Saddleback Cliffs will be going down the Saddleback Cliffs, which I don't know when this is coming out, but maybe I've already done it by then. And if I have, hopefully I'm still alive. I've had reports and people being like, yeah, there's a drainage kind of the raid and you kind of just get your crampons and your ice act and you kind of down climb it. So I'm not like really worried about it. It's like I'm probably going to be doing it solo, which is good for me because then I don't have to worry about someone else. And the other thing is I want to overnight it and I hammock camp. I have like a negative 30-degree ultra lightweight hammock set up, and that's how I winter camp. It's super, super easy, super light, and super comfortable. The only thing that sucks is I'm not in the warmth of kind of like my own tent where I can expand and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, like, it's fine. So I'll go down Saddleback, go up, watch the sunset from Basin, then go down Basin into the call between Haystack, hike up Haystack a little bit, and camp at Snowbird Campsite, which is the highest elevated campsite in the park at just below 4,100 feet. It's the only one, I believe, above 4,000 feet. Mary Louise Pond on the backside of Rocky Peak Ridge on the New Russia Trail is the second, and it's at like 3,960 feet. And so the Snowbird Campsite it's like the epitome of campsites in my opinion, because you sleep there in the summertime, beautiful, mossy, right next to a water source, right there, and you sleep there, and then you wake up and you're a quarter mile from Little Haystack, and then it's like the rest of the way is just like right there to Haystack, and so that's where I'm gonna sleep, wake up, and then just break camp and just go watch the sunrise from Haystack and hike out.
It's really a perfect plan considering what you're trying to do. And I want to mention as well, going back to the fact that he's doing this gallery, not all, but I'd say the vast majority of your hikes have included either a sunrise or a sunset.
A lot of them have.
So the photos are going
necessary.
to be, the photos are going to be awesome. Just, to continue to let people know. These aren't just like, we didn't just go up the mountains in the middle of the day.
They were strategically planned.
Yes. Many of them have a sunrise or a sunset. So there's going to be so many pictures from different summits with, the sun in just an absolutely incredible way. So definitely want to keep that in mind when you plan to go see this killer winter gallery. Let's talk real quick. Let's go a little deeper into your winter camping.
Sure.
Your winter camping decision and how you're going to do it. Let's expand a little bit on that. Give us some more detail as to how you set up and the gear that you have for this. Because that's no joke, obviously.
Mm-hmm. So, like, one thing before I say that is what I didn't get to say real quick was that I am finishing on Nipple Top. Dial Nipple Top will be my 45 and 46 because Nipple Top was my first hike. And so I'm going to I don't know why it kind of took me a minute to figure out what I wanted to finish on. But I was like, it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. It's an appropriate finish.
It is. And so, yeah, that's what I'll be doing. But anyway, so back to what I bring.
Winter camping.
A lot of people, well, probably not a lot of people. I know there are going to be people out there that, let me say it this way. There are a lot of super extra packers that will probably bring 40 pounds of stuff on each of their winter hikes. To be prepared and other stuff like that, and there's not a problem with that. Like, there's why would I say there's a problem with being over prepared? I think my methodology personally is not necessarily the best for everyone. It's best for me because I have spent so much time in these mountains, and even though I didn't grow up here, I still know every single mountain summit, every single trail now, like at the back of my hand. And I have no problem navigating these mountains anywhere on the trail systems, at least specifically. And I do have that confidence. And so, like, for example, I'm not gonna go and climb something if it's in awful conditions. For me in the winter, I've been able to pick windows of time with weather where the worst thing that's going to be happening is breaking trail. That's the worst thing that's going to happen. And since I've done all these mountains and I've done a lot of them in the winter and I've methodically gone over the trails and stuff like that, I pack very much less than a normal person probably would, someone who might be less experienced. So I would say based off of your experience level and how comfortable you feel out there and like what you know that you're doing will dictate what you bring. And so for me, my gear is based off of my how comfortable I am, what I know I'm going to expect when I get out there, because it's a big thing is knowing exactly what the weather patterns are going to be like. So I check out like 4 different forecasts from like the NOAA Mountain Point forecast system to Mountain Forecast to just the Lake Placid weather and all this other stuff, because I want to make sure that when I'm going up, I know exactly what the temperature is going to be, the wind chill, if there's a chance for precipitation and all this other stuff. And most of the time I try to get windows of really great weather. So I pack, I will bring stuff that will prepare me if I need to spend the night there. But I'm not going to be like, I'm not the type of person that will bring every single piece of like life-threatening like gear that's necessary, because I believe that when I'm going into these mountains, like I know what I'm doing essentially. I don't want that to come across like, oh, you know, these mountains can still kill you. Oh, of course they can. Like, you know, but just don't be dumb. You know, common sense can go a long way. I will say that. And there are a lot of people out there that don't use common sense. There are so many people out there that are going out unprepared. And for me, the lightweight and the little amount of stuff that I bring, I don't classify that as me being unprepared, but it's like I really feel that I do know like what I'm doing. So with that in my pack, generally I'll have my layering system. One of my favorite pieces is my merino wool base layer, Icebreaker merino wool. And reason being is because it is the sweat killer. Once you're sweating and you need to take your coat off or something like that, it breathes and it just evaporates all that water within minutes. And it will breathe through all your other layers. It's pretty incredible. And then on top of that, I have my fleece, a breathable fleece. And then those are the two main layers. Like I'll be hiking in on that. Mm-hmm. And then once I need to put more layers on, I got a puffy, and then I have a shell. And then if it's much more brutal days and I know I'm going to be standing on like the summit of Algonquin with a -40 wind chill for half an hour, I'll bring a much thicker insulated shell to go on top of those other 4 layers. But most of the time I won't bring that really big piece, because I've found myself just being completely fine with the puffy and the thin hard shell on top of that. And it's all lightweight stuff. So I mainly use a lot of Eddie Bauer First Ascent stuff. That's kind of just what I invested into early. I think they do make a great line of winter clothing. the First Ascent specific series, because they also run a ton of great deals. So even though a lot of people say